Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. And so, the latest on Syria and, kind of where we are on that. Well, the breaking news, what's being reported quite a bit today, is that Russia is sort of really doubling down on the fact that this was a staged attack, that it was fake. Okay, and I'm not saying that it was or it wasn't. I'm just saying that's what Russia is claiming, and they say they have irrefutable proof. This is at the Express UK. What is the Express? The one, it's a UK media outlet. Says Russia says it has irrefutable evidence that actors staged the chemical attack in Syria. The BBC has got a similar headline. And in both articles, it says, being led by one country. The Russia-phobic campaign. It's the foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, which is that dude right there. He's like the Secretary of State for Russia. And there's a 1-minute interview with him, or a press conference with him speaking to reporters. So I'll play that with an interpreter in a second. But in both these articles, the BBC and the London Express, he indicates one country but doesn't name it, which he did not name. However, over here, it says the latest. Russia says UK led the staged Syria gas attack. And I don't know if that's in reference to most of the news that I've been getting on this, I've been taking from Lift the Veil. So, and I'm not going to try to regurgitate everything he talks about, but he is pulling stuff, he's searching out news. He definitely is. And actually has a live stream today with a reporter who reports specifically on developments in Syria and is more or less an expert on it. And she's, I think she's like a legitimate reporter. I think she's got her own check mark and all that. So I don't know if she's in Syria right now or what, but that should be pretty cool. And I don't know if he's doing that on Twitch or if he's doing that on Lift the Veil Live. He's got a couple different YouTube channels, but he's been being, censored by YouTube and having his live stream capabilities taken away from him. One of the things he was talking about, which is widely reported, the white helmets, which is, is some kind of propaganda arm, some people might say, that is aligned with the Syrian rebel forces, and that it was founded by a former member of MI6. And MI6 is British intelligence, I believe. Now, I don't know this. And actually, I'm not trying to, I believe that what Lift the Veil was saying is probably true, I just don't know, and so I'm just taking it from him. But is that what he's referring to? The latest is Russia says UK led the staged Syrian gas attack. So when you do actually go to that site, but it takes you to all the latest developments, so you have to dig down. And I did find what that refers to. That headline, the latest, Russia says UK led staged Syria gas attack. So it looks like Russia is blaming the UK in that headline, and they are. And this is as of 6 p.m. I'm assuming that's like European time. It says the Russian military says that an alleged chemical attack in Syria was staged and directed by Britain. A volunteer, first responders and activists claimed a chemical attack by the Syrian government killed over 40 people in the town of Douma, which drew international outrage and prompted Washington and its allies to consider a military response. Moscow warned against any strikes and threatened to retaliate. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Major General Igor Konashenkov released statements by medics from Duma's hospital who said a group of people toting video cameras entered the hospital, shouting that its patients were struck with chemical weapons and causing panic. The medics said none of its patients were hurt by chemicals. Konashenkov said Friday that Britain was directly involved in the provocation, but it didn't elaborate or provide evidence. So again, released the Major General Konashenkov released statements by medics from Duma's hospital who said a group of people toting video cameras entered the hospital, shouting that its patients were struck with chemical weapons and causing panic. The medics said none of the patients were hurt by chemicals. All right, let me go back to what I was saying. Because so far, for the most part, the evidence we have is video you're getting over the internet on Twitter and various places. And it's the, I guess some people say those things can be easily produced. It's not that tough. So, but in this BBC article, and actually in other articles, the authorities in the United States, France, are basically pointing to specifics that they have blood samples of people in the region, and they have proof themselves that it was in fact a chemical attack. That some of the samples tested positive for chlorine and for another gas, which I think people suspect is sarin gas. All right, so let me just go through some of the BBC article and then go to the press conference with Lavrov and wrap it up there. All right, you know what? But inspectors are supposed to go into the region, into Syria, over the weekend, Saturday. That's tomorrow. So things are moving quickly. I mean, one of the other things that Lift the Veil was reporting is that, according to a CNBC article, the Allied forces, or U.S., had identified 8 specific targets they were considering by an anonymous source. Speaking under anonymity. Hate that word. They have 8 specific possible target sites. I think some of them were airports, and one was a chemical weapons facility, a couple other targets. So things are moving quickly. But, I don't know if that thing's going to be held off until these, sort of inspectors can go in and do their work or what. So let me get going here. U.S. and France say they have proof it took place, and alongside the U.K. are considering military retaliation. It's interesting that U.S. and France are pretty close on this. Russia, which has military forces deployed in Syria in support of the government, has warned that U.S. airstrikes risk starting a war. And that's what everybody's worried about. People literally think this is the beginning of, the march towards World War III, with all these major world powers all, colliding at once in one part of the world. Russia, Iran, United States, France, UK, Israel, Syria, Lebanon with Hezbollah. All right, so independent chemical weapons inspectors are expected to arrive in the area of the alleged attack on Saturday. That's tomorrow. During a press briefing on Friday, Lavrov said he had irrefutable evidence that the attack was staged as part of a Russia-phobic campaign led by one country, which he did not name. Russia has requested a UN meeting in New York later in the day, but it has not yet been confirmed that this will happen. The White House says it is continuing to assess intelligence and talk to its allies about how to respond. A delegation from the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, the OPCW, will start its investigations in Syria Eastern Ghouta region on Saturday. I guess that's who they're talking about, inspectors, but few details are expected to be released about its movements for safety reasons. What proof is there of a chemical attack? The suspected attack denied by Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's government was carried out in the eastern Ghouta town of Douma on Saturday. Control over the town has since passed from the rebels to the Syrian and Russian military authorities. Apparently there was a negotiation to have buses come in and transport the remaining rebel forces, which I think were in the number of 8,000, and at the same time, in exchange, release Syrian government army forces that had been captured by the rebels. And I think they were, I want to say 10,000, 40,000. I still have my numbers, but I don't. So, but apparently that did in fact happen, and the Syrian rebel forces have left and gone to the northern part of Syria. So, the Violation Documentation Center, a Syrian opposition network, which records alleged violations of international law in Syria, said bodies were found foaming at the mouth with discolored skin and burns to the eyes. I don't know if that's the white helmets or what. The Violations Documentation Center. Ugh, reading is so bad. So, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, told the network, "We definitely have enough proof, but now we just have to be thoughtful in our action." I know they had blood samples. I thought that was mentioned here, but these articles keep changing so quickly. And let me play the Lavrov, see what he has to say here.
Mr. Lavrov, yesterday, Mark Rutte, Dutch Prime Minister, said that if the US are going to strike on Syria, that he will receive that with an understanding. How do you evaluate this position of the Dutch government? Well, with the understanding of what? That it had to be done because simply the Assad regime had to be changed. That's one thing. Then with an understanding that the chemical weapons was used, I would suggest to wait for the results, especially considering that the OPCW mission, well, they're not being very fast without being overly enthusiastic. However, still under the pressure coming from us and from Syrian government, they have went to Syria. I believe they will arrive in Damascus tomorrow morning, and we hope that without they would speedily go out to Duma, and I believe that they will find no proof of chemical weapons or chlorine. Our specialists have not found not a single such fact. Moreover, we have irrefutable data that was yet another staged event, and staging was done also by the special services of one of the countries being at the forefront of the anti-Russian campaign.
Okay, so that's pretty much the story there, man. I know they had blood samples, and I really wanted to share that with you. About the blood samples. It says activists and AIDS groups say dozens died in the assault on Duma, the last rebel stronghold in eastern Ghouta, which has been subjected to intensive bombing by Syria's Russian-backed regime of President Bashar al-Assad. The U.S. has blood and urine samples from the area that have tested positive for chemical weapons, according to 2 U.S. officials familiar with the intelligence. The sample suggested the presence of both chlorine gas and an unnamed nerve agent, 2 officials said. Assad is known to have stocks of the nerve agent sarin and has previously used a mixture of chlorine and sarin in attacks, according to U.S. officials. Russia also tangled with the United States at the UN Security Council on Friday, etc. All right, thanks. That's it. Thanks. I knew I saw that. I'd heard it. I just wanted to show it to you. Thanks for watching my videos. We'll see what happens over the weekend, and anything that comes up, I'll make a video for you as fast as I can. Please subscribe. Give me a like down below. I will see you in the next video. Later, man.